Okay, now we're going into the pilot. We are in some level of action. I I'm probably saying that each phase is my favorite, but pilot is such a critical component to the work that I do with founders because you have to test. I do a lot of change work, and if you're not testing, if you're not constantly iterating and trying things out before it actually launches, before strategy and implementation, it feels like this big thing. And what typically happens is when you implement this large initiative, this massive change, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't roll out because you're not used to it along the way. So piloting something, you're testing the waters, you're testing things out. If there are 10 components of the pilot that you put out there, you might end the pilot and come back to say, okay, five worked really well, five garbage, throw those out. We're going to move forward with these five. It helps you understand what works and what doesn't. And that is arguably the most critical component of selecting the appropriate strategy is you have to know. Again, I'm repeating myself on my most favorite part of the framework, but you have to know which parts work before you select the strategy. We're going to start with two questions. Legacy question: what do you want to be known for? And then the second one is like an added layer to that. When you are not in a room, how will people talk about your work? So as you're watching this, I would pause at this point, think through some of these, see what comes up for you, see what surfaces for you. If you're listening all the way through first, keep going. You're not kind of in a position to work. But I want you to start with those two questions because I think what comes up from that will shape where you take this next level of work in this pilot. We're going to start with some reputation mapping. So in this instance, you can definitely do this virtually in some capacity, but I would recommend finding a wall somewhere, co-working space, your home, your bedroom, wherever that may be. And on different notes, you're going to start to answer this question. What do you want to be known for? When people describe me, I want them to say blank. So you're going to start to write these different ideas down. I want them to say I'm hardworking. I want them to say that I have a vision for growth. I want them to say, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Write those on different individual post-it notes. Throw those up on a wall. Once the brainstorming is complete, I want you to take a step back and look at all the post-it notes. Begin to move them around and sort them together. Are there trends? Are there kind of things that pop up time and time again? Are there words that pop up time and time again, but like synonyms of the same word? So kind of start to move them around and then take a snapshot of that. Take a picture of where those at. And then I want you to add an additional layer, and I want you to think of the following groups. So community, team, contractors, investors. If there are other people that you need to fit into those stakeholder groups, feel free to do that now. And then I want you to begin to move those post-it notes around, second round, into those categories. How would you want investors to talk about you? How would you want your community, your customers, your clients to talk about you? How would you want your team to talk about you? And start to add some of those descriptors under each of those. At this point, if you have multiple ones, you can rewrite like, hardworking. You want to rewrite that. You want to have that on multiple ones. That's totally fine. And then there must you have to prioritize at least like one in each of those categories. Okay. Like there should be something that even if there are duplicates, that should be unique to just that stakeholder group. And then just, again, take a step back, take a snapshot, take a picture of what came up. What does each group need to hear? Is there a tone shift? Like, is there a deeper message? And if you need to layer in some more post-it notes, go ahead and do that. And once you have that up, I'd like for you to create some version of this. So whoever your stakeholder groups are at the top, tone, core, message, credibility, that goes below it. This is just a sample of what it could look like, where you're basically saying, okay, what is the tone, core, message, and credibility for my team? What is it for my community? What is it for my investors? Like, what is the core message that is coming across? Even when you look at this, here, from team to investors, it's very different. There could be things, and you'll see in the next few modules, your core values are something it's never going to change. It's going to be this unwavering connection to your core values. But the message that you bring to different groups is going to be different. It has to be different. And the added layer to this that's not in here, but we'll continue to come back to this, the plot diagram, your founder story. is there are certain pieces of your story that as you evolve in this work, that you'll probably highlight and share with your team. You'll keep coming back to. There are parts of your story that you will always come back to with your community. And there are parts of the story that you always come back to with investors. And it's really having that level of just like discernment to understand and shape, okay, this is the tone. This is the credibility that I show up with. These are the stories that I tell in these rooms because I know it's how it shapes the movement of the people that are in them versus when I'm in this room, it's this piece. All of them are still you, but it's knowing how to create movement and saying things in a way that people can hear you that creates traction. I want to close this section with this quote by Rick Rubin. I've also heard, he's brilliant, iconic, all the things. I've also heard people that I look up to, like Issa Rae, share things like this, that you have to start with you first. If you don't go to that storyboard and plot diagram and start with your story and really shape what your story is and which parts you want to tell, the audience doesn't really matter. The audience has to come last. You cannot start with, oh, this is what I think investors want to hear. This is what I think my community wants to hear because they also follow this person and they're doing really well. If you start with that, your story gets lost. So this piece, this quote, one, I love it. Two, it's a reminder that the part that we just did has to come second. If you haven't done the work of the previous modules first, it's going to get confusing because you're going to start with, well, what does this person want to hear? Versus starting with, this is the piece of the story that I want to be remembered by, and this is the piece of the story that I want to tell. So lean into that. See where that leaves you. There are multiple iterations of this. I will see you in the next module. Thank you so much.